A small village nestled between lush valleys, there was an old man beloved by everyone. He wasn't wealthy, nor did he have power, but he always wore a kind smile. Whether it was sunny or rainy, no matter how difficult life was, his eyes always sparkled with joy, as if he held a secret about happiness. The villagers often came to him to talk, seeking advice whenever they were troubled. He always listened patiently, then gently offered simple but profound words. One day, a young girl came to see him. She seemed worried, her eyes full of questions. "Sir, I don't understand. How can you always be happy? I see life full of difficulties. Have you never faced sadness?" The old man smiled, his eyes full of understanding. He replied softly, "My dear, happiness is not something that comes from the outside. It lies in the way we perceive life." The girl looked at the old man in surprise. "But how can happiness not depend on circumstances? I see many rich people who aren't happy, and some poor people are full of joy. Why is that?" The old man smiled kindly, his eyes holding a wealth of life experience. He spoke slowly. "You can think of happiness like a lamp. If you let others light it, when they leave, the light will disappear. But if you light it yourself, it will always be there, no matter what happens." The girl furrowed her brows, thinking. The old man continued, "Life always has its tough moments, but what's important is how we face them. If we focus only on the bad things, we will always be sad. But if we learn to appreciate the small things around us, a beautiful day, a friendly smile, joy will naturally appear." The girl seemed to understand a little, but still had many questions. "So how can we keep that joy when faced with sorrow?" she asked. The old man looked at her, his face thoughtful as if recalling distant memories. He slowly began to tell his story. "You know, when I was young, I had a small, happy family. I had a kind wife and obedient children. We weren't wealthy, but I always thought I was the luckiest man. Every day, I would return home after a hard day's work, and just seeing the smiles of my wife and children, all my worries would vanish." He paused for a moment, his eyes filled with sadness. "But then one day, my wife fell seriously ill. I tried everything to save her, but money was scarce and the medicine was expensive. Even though I did everything I could, she still passed away. That was the most painful day of my life. I lived in the darkness of sorrow, thinking I would never be happy again." The girl remained silent, feeling the pain in his every word. The old man sighed softly, but then his eyes softened again. "But do you know? Even though I lost my most beloved, I still had my children. They needed me. And it was they who helped me realize that despite the loss, life still goes on. I couldn't stay immersed in grief, forgetting the precious things still around me. After a long time lost in sorrow, I realized that life continues, no matter how much we suffer. At first, every day felt empty to me. But then, I began to learn how to find joy in the simplest things. The laughter of children, the sunrise every morning, or simply a warm cup of tea on a cold day. I realized that happiness doesn't come from the absence of sorrow, but from how we embrace it. If we keep mourning what we've lost, we will never see the good things that still exist. Therefore, I chose to change. Instead of drowning in the past, I focused on the present, on what I still had." The girl listened attentively, seemingly beginning to understand something. The old man smiled gently and said, "Happiness is not a destination, but the way we walk on our own path. When the unwanted happens, I always remind myself that time will heal all wounds. If we keep mourning and blaming fate, we will never escape suffering. Therefore, instead of being sad, I learned to appreciate what I have: health, friends, and every precious moment of life. Happiness is not about avoiding difficulties, but about facing them with optimism. If we understand that life always has its ups and downs, we will no longer fear adversity. Instead of falling, we can choose to rise, continue walking, and search for the good things that are still waiting ahead." The old man shared his story not only to teach the girl, but also to spread it to those around him. After hearing his words, the girl changed the way she viewed life. Gradually, she began to feel the difference in her everyday life, and joy began to return to her. His teachings helped her face challenges without feeling defeated. The story of the old man didn't just stop with the girl. It had a deep impact on everyone in the village. The villagers, when hearing about his advice, started to look at life more positively. They knew that happiness wasn't something far away. but rather the simple things in life that we can find every day. The whole village became happier, more united, and loving each other more because of the old man's words. The old man looked at the girl and the people around them, then gently said, "Happiness is not a goal we must reach, but the way we live in each moment. Life always has challenges, sadness, but it is these very things that help us grow and find true values. Happiness is a choice. We can choose sorrow and make ourselves miserable, or we can choose to look at the good things and find joy in the little things around us." The old man emphasized that happiness cannot be bought with money or power. It comes from within each person, from how we perceive and face difficulties. No matter what life is like, if we always keep a positive attitude and appreciate what we have, joy will always be present. His words not only changed the girl, but also impacted everyone in the village. They began to understand that happiness isn't far away. It is the choice of each person.